All right, we are back live at the Wine Yard at Santa Rosa Vintner Square, obviously in Santa Rosa. So we have been tasting through some great wines, having a great time. Got a great crowd tonight. And next up, we have winemaker Bob Appleby from Atascadero Creek Winery. And, you know, it's very interesting because you're in kind of a sub-appellation of the Russian River Valley.
Right,
and it's
Green Valley.
Yeah, it's Green Valley. And, of course, I grew up in Sebastopol. And when I was a kid, I would have never imagined that there would be vineyards and some of the greatest wines coming out of Green Valley.
The Green Valley is now considered one of the finest Pinot Noir growing areas in the world right now. Actually, it is.
It's very spectacular. It's amazing the wines that are coming out of there. But today, I have over the years, you know, I fell in love with Zinfandel from Dry Creek initially. But I got to tell you, over the last number of years, I have really come to love Russian River Valley Zins. So tell us a little bit about this and what the Han Ranch is about.
The Han Ranch is a little family ranch in Healdsburg. It's about 15 acres. There's about 4 acres planted. The vines were planted in 1948 actually they were planted by Joe DiMaggio's cousins. The DiMaggio family
really
owned the ranch, and they sold it in 1952 to the Hans. It's been dry farm. It's never been sprayed. It's not certified organic, but it could be. They're just unwilling to do the paperwork.
Sorry.
And it's very well yield. It's old head-pruned vines. It produces about 1 ton per acre. And there's a little bit of Petit Syrah, a little bit of Carignan, and some Alicante Boucher scattered throughout the vineyard.
So this is a field blend, basically.
It's about over 90% Zin, but there's a smattering of a few things.
Oh, that is a beauty. Oh. So tell us about. So you're now in the wine yard here, but what do you? So you're a micro winery. What do you produce in a year? Your kind of total production.
My total production is about 1,000 cases, of which about 400 are my Sauvignon Blanc. So all my reds together are about 600 cases.
Oh.
They're very small lots. I'm the only guy there.
Yeah,
I pick it, I crush it, I put the cork in the bottle, I put the label on.
You do it all.
And I deliver it myself.
That is beautiful.
One dog and pony show.
And then what is the case production on this and the price point? What's the price point on this?
It's 28 retail. It varies on this year actually there was no crop. In 2011 it never got ripe. It was too cold and I abandoned about 4 tons out there, which is terrible. Usually I get 3 or 4 tons, so I make 150, 200 cases out of it.
Okay. So that means that this 08 right here is really coveted because we're going to miss a vintage. And that happens. And but what a beautiful, beautiful wine. So tell us a little bit about how you make this wine. What's your approach?
I'm hands off. I do the least manipulation possible. It's I don't crush it. I destem the fruit only. I use natural native yeast. I don't inoculate with French yeast. Use wild yeast in little open top 1-ton fermenters. I press it out by hand in an oak basket press. It holds about 1.5 tons of fruit. And then it spends 2 years in a barrel. It's unfiltered and unfined. It's just I rack it a couple of times and the minimum amount of sulfur to stabilize it. So it's pretty pure, really unmanipulated wine. All my reds are like that. I don't filter any of the reds.
So this is really kind of that what they're calling really natural winemaking. That whole approach.
Hands off.
Hands off.
A lot of wineries do all kinds of additions and filtering and blends, and they're constantly fiddling with it. And I think the best wines are made just leaving the wine alone and letting it do what it wants to do. If you get good grapes and pick them at the right time, most of your work is done.
Yeah. So tell us what do the native yeast do? What do you find makes that difference, and what makes that special?
I think that they're more vigorous than the French yeast I used to use. I started about 5 years ago. I used to use French yeast. I used to inoculate. And about 5 or 6 years ago, a winemaker friend of mine said, you should quit inoculating because your building is infested with wine yeast. It's living in your building. And what you have is a hybrid yeast that is wild and repopulated, and it's more vigorous than the laboratory grown stuff. So that year I just let 2 of my Pinot batches go without inoculating them, and they fermented rapidly and really nicely. So the next year I just quit buying yeast. I just put the stuff in there, and the next day it's fermented.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I think it really lends a uniqueness, and because obviously the yeast, they morph, they change,
They do.
right? And then they become very special.
And what happens is you get these hybrid yeast. It's like mixed dogs. Mongrel dogs are usually tougher and stronger than pure dogs because they're just a better combination. So my building is just full of this stuff. You wouldn't want to take some wine and let it ferment out in the middle of a pasture where nobody's ever had wine yeast before, because you could get some off flavors.
Right.
But if you've been making wine on a site for a while, a lot of the small winemakers around here use native yeast.
Yeah, it's really happening now. We got a question from Colin off camera.
Hi, everybody. So the first thing that I saw, Bob, is they wanted to say great artwork on the label. They really loved it.
Thanks.
And then my vine spot noted that these vines or the vineyard was originally owned by Joe DiMaggio's family?
Yeah, one of his cousins originally planted the vineyard in 1948 and then sold the property in 52, just 4 years later sold it to the Hahn family.
And then UC Bo wanted to know the oak treatment. He's sorry if he missed you talking about that, and what bricks was it picked at?
This was picked, I usually pick the Zinfandel at about 25 and a half bricks. And I wait, I'm out there looking at it. I'm waiting until the seeds are really brown and mature. And I'm out there picking it and tasting it every day. But I usually wait for about 25 and a half bricks. And the alcohol is up around 15.
Mm-hmm. And what about the oak? What's your oak regimen?
It's in there's usually no new oak. I usually put the Zin in 1-year-old barrels, a mixture of 1-year-old barrels and 2-year-old barrels. I don't like to over oak my Zin. I'm much more into skin tannins than oak tannins, and so I do a lot of skin tannin extraction with maceration during the fermentation and kind of limit the amount of oak tannins that I put on it by barrel choice.
Well, I'm really enjoying this Zin here because so many of them will use like New American oak, and then all you're tasting is oak and vanilla.
Yeah.
And you're just not getting that. You're tasting the grape and the flavor, and I'm really loving the native yeast thing. There's, again, like you said, there's a lot of small producers using it, and I think it really lends to obviously into the whole concept of terroir. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's what you've got is hybridized yeast living in your building and live there year round, and so it's as local as you could be.
Yeah, right.
It truly is.
Yeah, this is really, really a beautiful, unique Zin. Loving it. So it looks like we have another question.
Cellar Mistress in my vine spot agreed that every time they take a sip, comes out of their mouth. Other people think that it's dark and jammy, lots of berry flavors. What about a dusty or chalky note? What are they picking up on there?
Well, I don't really get dusky. I get kind of to me it's like I get a little dried flower, a little rose petal dried flower thing on it.
Yeah.
And I get that on the nose too. I get a little floral aspect. But it's got the limited oak lets the fruit really shine through. You really get the fruit up front.
Yeah, I love it because what I'm getting is really nice round tannins, and I would agree. I mean, you really called that out. It is that dried flower kind of thing, and then these beautiful round tannins, and just absolutely just a really, really unique thing. And I think that obviously that field blend obviously lends a huge amount of uniqueness to this.
There's just a little bit of it. Actually, there's 4 or 5 vines that have big white grapes on them. I think they're Palominos. And every year my pickers go, Blanco, and I go, yeah, pick them in there. Let them in there. 200 pounds, and just chuck them in there.
I love that.
In the old days, when they planted those Italian vineyards, these guys just came by selling rootstock, and so it wasn't always. They thought they were buying Zin, but there's a few vines out there that I don't know what they are. I think there's a couple of Movedras and some strange things out there.
Yeah, but it must be something to go out and just walk through that vineyard and that history and that feeling. I mean, that's one of the things that makes winemaking great.
It is. You get spending the time in the field and the vineyards is a lot of it for me. I love picking it and bringing it in and going out there and monitoring the growth and ripeness as the season progresses.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna switch the topic just real quick here before we close out.
Well, before you do that,
okay.
There's just an important thing, a little factoid that happened to come up in the conversation, that somehow you have a band called Bottle Shock.
I do have a
That's
band.
what I was
Do you
just
have
gonna
any
go
songs
to.
about wine?
Was Psychic out there? I mean, that's what I was going to ask.
I do. In fact, the title song "Bottle Shock" is about winemaking, and when they made the movie, actually, the band had been in business for a while before that, and they were gonna. I called up the producer and said, I have a band named Bottle Shock, and she goes, "Yeah, I know. Maybe we should use one of your songs in the movie." And I said, "Yeah, you ought to. You're stealing my name," but they never did. So I let it go. My Syrah grower is a trial attorney, and he goes, "Let's sue him." And I said, "No, let's not."
You know what? Let's use some SEO and some search engine work to just, ride the coattails of the movie scene, and then, get you guys up there. But it sounds like, again, there's going to be an opportunity to play here.
Oh yeah, I've already played it.
Oh,
I played over in the wineries next door.
Oh, over next door.
This summer I'll probably have the whole band out here. We'll be playing.
So once again, winemakers and musicians, so many are both.
They are. Many of my winemaker friends are musicians as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So, and obviously a lot of my friends out there know my deep passion. I'm a drummer.
There you go.
And we love music. I know Joe Roberts isn't here with us tonight, but Joe Roberts, One Wine Dude, is a ripping bass player. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. I think it's because we understand what's important in life.
We do. And we all like your creativity.
Yeah, it is a really creative thing.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, thanks for coming out. Thank you for sharing this beautiful, beautiful Zinfandel.
Sure.
And let's hope that next year we get another crop. So,
I hope so.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to get these wines, get onto the Wineyard website, and you can sign up. You can become a club member. And we are going to sign off right now. We're going to thank Bob for coming out. Cheers, Bob.
Cheers.
Have a great time the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're making great wines. And on the music theme, we are going to be back with Bob Smith and Joe Lazaro from Jazz Cellars, and we're going to be tasting a 2007 Syrah from the Las Madres Vineyard in the Carneros. So, we're tripping all around Sonoma County tonight. Cheers. We'll be back in just a few minutes.